What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to YGOPD, your Yu-Gi-Oh! Professional Development, and the second season, I guess, of Yu-Gi-Oh! 365. We're trying to complete the Yu-Gi-Oh! Competitive bucket list, at least I have for myself, to kind of see how far I can go as I start to hone in. Last year was an incredibly great start for this journey for me. Had the chance to go to regionals outside my home state for the first time ever. Had the chance to do two of my first full YCSs to actually play through them, and even at the second one at the last YCS Indy, bubbling at day 2, getting like 202nd place out of like 1,850 players. So really happy with that performance, and even getting multiple invites last regional season, which is really good. We are still on the hunt for everything you can see on screen: regional top 8, regional win, YCS day 2, and of course that YCS top. That's really a big thing for me, and we're kicking off the season with a really strong warm-up, none other than the OTS Celebration Day, and I have something very special for you guys. Okay, so I know this is really cool and exciting, but we did secure, oh, it's so beautiful, the envelope that's not going to be touched or opened for God knows how long, right? Really cool. I'll give a bit of a event breakdown, as well as I think a good kickoff to this is how my deck building has progressed. I picked up this deck a couple weeks ago as like a joke. Didn't think it was good. Wanted to have something fun in between the time of not having a ban list back then, and obviously the new stuff in October with Asmania, whatever, all that is going to go crazy. So we're getting another holding pattern. So I wanted something fun to play, and I picked this up, and it was not as bad as I thought. I went 1-2 at a local, didn't know what I was doing, made some changes, went 2-1 at a local. You can see those couple profiles here on screen, and landed at where I'm at today, going X1 and securing second place at the World Celebration. Thankfully, it was ironic, the raffle for first place, the only guy I lost to, shout out amazing player Max, my friend. You guys probably saw him on feature at the last top 32 feature match for YCS Indy. He won the whole thing, and then when they did the raffle, they rolled him, and they can't give him 2, obviously, so it got down to second place. So really excited for that, and really happy with where this build landed, and I hope this is something that encourages everyone else to really explore the deck and play with it. But I'll go ahead and stop talking. I'll showcase the main extra inside and do a quick combo, of course, of how I really got to where I was with the deck. The one thing I will note, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of people, I think, probably upset about this. This is not meant to be a budget deck. There's a lot of things in here that, unfortunately, I think are needed that help the ceiling of the deck quite a lot. But we'll kind of talk about those when we get to it. So, and if you really want to play this at a casual level, I still think you can do just as fine, of course, and just cut some things and change some breakers around and things like that. So, of course, starting off, I guess we'll make it look good, right? The 5 pieces of Exodia. For some reason, I still do it backwards every time. These are bricks in your deck, unfortunately. You can place them with Temple. I very rarely did that unless I knew going into a matchup that it was either I was going first, turn 1, and had the ability to guarantee resolve Ankh and shuffle them back, or in a way that like I just knew they didn't have ways to clear these, because if for people who don't know, if they clear this piece on the board, you kind of lose if it goes to grave or banish. Yes, you can shuffle it back with the trap, but if you can't get the fusion out, you can't search the trap and you can't shuffle it back. So just be aware of that. And so then for the Millennium Engine, I think it's about as standard as it gets. 3 Sengenjin gets any Millennium monster. 3 Golem gets the Wedge You Temple, the field spell to help you place. 3 Shield, which gets you the Ankh, which is one of the most important cards in the deck. And then 3 Temple. So Temple lets you place a monster from your hand in the spell trap zone as a continuous spell, and then place a Millennium from your deck in the spell trap zone. So right now you kind of have 3, 6, 9, 12 ways to kind of help get Ankh, as long as you have another monster, which you almost always will. And then, of course, bringing it up to 15, none other than the Ankh itself. The Ankh spits out the Exodia Fusion and shuffles everything that's not a Millennium level 10 Exodia thing back into the deck in terms of your side of the field for monsters. And then all the Millenniums summon themselves by either paying 2k life or revealing this from your hand as cost. So you always want to have this to help save life and get your fusion up as big as possible, because this is a blind second version of the deck to try to just OTK. And then 1 trap. I know a lot of people play 2. There's some grindier games where I wish I had a second one, but the extra deck really kind of made up for that. There are just times where like just drawing this feels really bad to me, like on top of already just drawing more bricks in the deck. You just don't want that. So 1 was fine. And most of the time, if you set up a good enough board or play through enough where you can't OTK them, but then you still end on the spell trap negate for the fusion, plus this is usually enough to clean it up by, say, turn 4, I guess, because you're going second, right? So that's it for the Millennium and the Exodia piece. And then people are going to be upset at this. We're playing 2 Engraver and 1 Sanct. This card saved me for a while. This was a recent addition. I think the like night before the event yesterday, and it just was amazing. You don't need lure, you don't need track, you don't need any of that. Even most of the time, I found myself just doing 1 and 1. The only reason I bumped it up to 2 was I was a bit self-conscious of saying, like, if I hard open, like I just want an extra in case of like awkward hands, so you can always pitch and still search or different things like that if you hard open 1 and 1, whatever. But in reality, I never went beyond using 1, because even if you draw it, you just use it as part of your combo. But there were a lot of times where not a lot, but I just wanted to be prepared for the scenario. If I did draw just this, I wanted a target to still help push through negates. And if I pitch this to get this, there's no target left in deck for Requiem, right? So you could just, that's why I wanted 2. But you could technically either do 1 and 1 or do a lot of what some combo decks are doing, like in Rescue Ace and other spaces, and just play a Engraver. And it's meant to just be summoned off Requiem as a combo piece and nothing else. But I don't know. It's kind of a weird toss-up in the combination of how you want to do that. But again, this engine is fine. It's either 1 and 1 or just 1 or 2 and 1, however you want to make it work. But this was incredible all day. And it does play into, unfortunately, the necessary combo I did that helped me win, but was only required 1 Engraver, so I'll explain that later. And then 1 Prosperity, RIP at 1. Our event was the modern TCG ban list. I should have said that at the beginning. OTS stores had the choice to do Worlds or modern TCG post ban list, and so that's what ours was doing. So that'll explain the 1 pot and a few different non-engine pieces. And then the rest of the deck is just board breakers and hand traps. The whole deck rounds out to 45 cards. Essentially a 40-card deck plus the 5 pieces is kind of the logic there. So for the non-engine, and that's one of the things I like about this over Tenpai, you can play just the most toxic stuff, and it's just unfair. So 3 Lava Golem, your deck doesn't have a normal summon, doesn't need a normal summon. And then 3 Alpha. This was something I'd been testing a lot in theory, and it really performed really, really well. In the event you can't combo, it's still a free body that can either attack over things or crash into things. And on top of that, it's a card that is non-targeting bounce for their cards, so you can Lava Golem, summon this, bring back Lava Golem, and bounce it again. And on top of that, even if they don't have a negate, it's a card where you can summon, bounce it back to hand, still do the Millennium stuff, and use Ankh, and then have this resource back in hand for a following turn. So this was actually a really, really good tech that I really enjoyed. It's still kind of the one open slot in the deck. I'm testing for other things, but if you're looking for something different, I like this over Fenrir. I like this over Pankratops, all for kind of that reason, is because it forces out or baits out something immediately, because Fenrir, they have to activate something. This, you make them do that, and even then it goes back to hand, so you can use it again later on. So really cool card there. And then 3 Raigeki and 2 Lightning Storm. Raigeki was actually really clutch just because it was a card that you could top deck mid-late game, if you go that far. I say mid-late game when we're talking about turns 3 or 4, right? But this can be used whenever, right? Because by the time you establish a board, Lightning Storm's not always used in the event you're going first or something like that. You play against Tenpai and you don't know that going into game 1. So all these were really good, though. And then the last of that's all the board breakers. And then the last of the deck is just hand traps. We play 9 of them, and they're all just the most power cards you can get. 3 Shifter, 3 Charmy, and 3 Dogwood. This deck is ironically going to be super funny when we get the other Charmy. You play an Exodia deck with 6 Charmies, you might just draw it, I don't know. But so these were all really good throughout the day. I think in terms of more deterrence than anything, there were a lot of times I would Dogwood or Mulcharmy or Shifter, any combination, or sometimes a combination of both, and they would force my opponent to pass, which sucks in Dogwood's case because it does half your life points, which makes things a little bit difficult. But either way, they either force them to pass turn or essentially they make a much worse board and it's a lot easier for you to deal with. So that's really the idea behind these 9 here. No ash, no anything like that. There's a couple more hand traps on the side that I'll get to in a minute, but we'll talk about the extra deck first. Of course, this card is insane, way better than what I thought. It's just so cool. Sometimes they just, when you do, something like this or shifter or whatever, and they pass, so you just go, okay, Ox, summon attack for gain. Like, it's kind of funny that you could do that. But this guy, for people who don't know, is a spell trap activation negate. Just be aware of that for cards that say you can only activate once per turn. So if you hit a Kaimin, right, the Tenpai can use another Kaimin, that kind of thing. During damage step, when it battles, it gains attack equal to your life points. So you could gain 8k one turn and then 8k another turn if it's still there for whatever reason. And then during the end phase, it sets an Exodia spell trap from your deck to the field, which if you were unfamiliar with the one trap that gets set, I'm assuming most people who are here already know what that does, but it's just a board wipe while you control this for their entire board, which is really dumb to just blow up their whole board. And then you also have a spell trap negate. So this deck can do some things going first, but the way I've built it, I think, is even better. So yeah, and then the only drawback is you take 1,000 life points during your standby phase only. And then moving on to the links, 1 Underworld Goddess, you have a bunch of free bodies. This is a good way of non-targeting, non-destructive removal. That should not trigger by card effect, right? 1 Unicorn, 1 Unchained Soul of Anguish. So we are doing some, Fiend control Unchained things that I'll talk about in a minute. 1 Moon, 1 Sequence, 1 SP, 1 Yama, 1 Rage, 1 Rabbit, and 1 Phoenix, and then the last link, 1 Requiem. All of these are kind of either pieces for spot removal through the Unchained stuff, through Requiem and the Fiendsmith combo, ways to insulate your board through Rabbit, or things to pick stuff apart like Nightmare Phoenix, and then obviously the Necro equip to go with the Fiendsmith piece. So as you can tell, there's a bunch of things here related that aren't in the main deck, like where's Sharvara, where's the trap, where's Rabbit's trap, like all that kind of stuff, right? So that was kind of the idea behind the side deck. The side deck was built to, I guess people were saying smokescreen a lot, but smokescreen I think used to mean 15 in, 15 out. And that's not what this deck does, and that's kind of the really nice thing is the extra deck is set up so you can still use some of these tools even without the traps into play. Like you can still do eventually Fiendsmith into Unchained, into Rage, or Anguish, into SP or something like that. Like you still have ways to play even without the traps, which is nice. And then if you're forced to go, if like you play this enough that people know what you're on, they make you go first. And it's also really good going post side. So I'll talk about the side. Most of it is geared towards going first. So 2 Sphere Mode. I never sided this in. This never really came up. 3 Droll, just extra hand trap layers to, again, kind of quote-unquote turn skip, more impactful ones. I sided this in a couple times, but never saw it to the point where it mattered. 3 Nib. This card I sided in a lot. I saw it once and used it incorrectly, unfortunately, because the one thing that sucks about this side engine that you'll see in a minute is there were a couple times where I nibbed both a Tenpai and then the Salad FTK player that you saw from the matchups on screen. And I was like, okay, cool, now they have to pass because they can't like heat me or anything like that. And I was like, oh wait, there's Sharvara in the deck now. I have a fire. So there was that a bit of a problem, but overall it was still fine. And then for the going first stuff, 3D barrier, again, Tenpai is still one of the best decks on top of Yubel. So we have Synchro and Fusion still relevant in the meta. And then, of course, the one there can be only one. Cited this in a lot, never saw it. But the star of the side deck is just 3 cards, and that's what makes this deck amazing. The smoke screen here is what allowed me to win. The combo here is what allowed me to do as well as I did. So I played 1 Sharvara, 1 Abominable of the Unchained, and 1 Silo hat trick. You could play the Statue of Azaroon. I couldn't find that lying around in my bulk, and this was fine. I think this is actually a little bit more unique because people are used to Azaroon and not used to this, so they would do things where it would be like, okay, trigger Poplar and hand to summon, and you go, okay, chain Rabbit, and because they're turn player, they have to go Poplar chain 1, this chain 2 to negate it. Same thing with Gazelle, same thing with like Genroku into Pydra or whatever. Like it was just actually really good. So this card was great, and then these help you just kind of play through stuff. So I'm going to showcase the combo, and the combo is essentially siding in, at minimum, these 3 cards and taking out 3 cards. It could be whatever. In this case, I'm going to just take out shifter because let's say we want our graveyard stuff to go through and things will conflict. So I'm going to take out the shifters. I'm going to put these 3 in, and I'm going to showcase how this combo works. And this is a quote unquote, I guess, 1.5 card combo. You need any way to full Millennium combo, which just means the 3 monsters. If you get Ankh 2 as well, that's great. Plus something to put in the, like, what you call it, the spell trap zone, because of the Wedju Temple. So Sengenjin or a good Millennium starter plus any monster pretty much gets you there. So I'll zoom out and I'll just showcase how the combo was. So I'll flip this around. So basically, if you have Ankh already, you don't have to pay life points, of course, but in this case, we're just going to do that just for whatever. We're going to use Sengenjin, put it here, pay 2k, summon it, and then we're just going to go ahead and search the copy of the Golem. And then we'll do the same thing. Add it to hand, place it here, summon it to here, pay the 2k, right? And then get a copy of Wedju Temple. And then add Wedju Temple over here. And then we'll do Wedju Temple. Place the leg, and then place the shield, and then pay 2k, summon the shield, get the Ankh. So now, there's going to be some things that look similar and some things that look different to maybe what you're familiar with. We're going to go ahead and link away 2 of the Millennium bodies. I usually just keep Sengenjin just because it's the biggest in the event we get stopped. But there's no other than that, there's no reason to pick certain bodies. So we link those 2. And we go ahead and go into the Closed Moon. We're going to start doing standard Fiendsmith stuff. Tribute off Closed Moon. Or, well, sorry, link off Closed Moon for Requiem. Tribute off Requiem. And then we're going to go ahead and get a copy of Engraver from our deck to the field. So we'll go ahead and grab one of the Engravers. Or hand, right, if you drew it. And then from here, what you can do is you're going to equip Requiem to Engraver. Get rid of those 2. Make Necroquip Princess, and then from there what you can do is summon the Engraver back. I typically shuffle back Moon, but it can be whatever you want in the event that like you're still going to have Engraver in rotation for this is a pop later. So from there you're going to not exceed these because I was doing Caesar for a bit, but you're going to link these 2 away into a copy of Yama. Now Yama will trigger going ahead and letting you add Sharvara from your deck to your hand. Now from here, you're going to go ahead and link Yama plus the last Millennium monster into a copy of Soul of Rage. We'll go ahead and throw that here on the board. And then you can use Sharvara to pop the Soul of Rage. And then Chainlink 1, banish Yama to Reborn Rage. Chainlink 2, the Rage to add back Engraver to your hand. So normally it's kind of awkward here because you're locked into Fiends and you have to link something here away. You can't make Rabbit, but the nice thing about recycling specifically the Engraver is you have it normaled. So you're going first, you just tribute summon the Engraver, trigger the Sharvara. You can get the Abominable Unchained Trap, which is just the Reborn, right? And then you can link the Engraver and the Rage now because you're no longer locked into Fiends for a copy of Rabbit. And then Rabbit will trigger getting you the Silo hat trick. So the reason this matters so much and why I'm so thankful I figured this out is Ankh specifically when it resolves has to shuffle back everything that is not a Millennium monster or a level 10 Exodia monster back into the deck. That is a monster card that includes the pieces that sit back here. Any monster card that sits here even though it's a continuous spell. So when you activate this, Rabbit has to go back and the leg has to go back. So if you were to make IP, SP, Apollosa, even though that's banned, right? But like whatever, if you make anything on the board monster-wise, it gets negated. So that's just not good. So you get to have 2 interrupts here, right? Well, it'll be more than that, right? And then you get the Exodia. Then Ankh will shuffle itself back as well. And then the Exodia will then set the Exodia trap. So you now have a really solid way just using the Millennium cards post side when you know you're either going first or forced to go first. There was a lot of times I chose to go first because I was playing, as you saw on screen, Gimmick Puppet Turn Skip with Branded, FTK. I'm not letting you go first and play the gamble game of whether I get Shifter or not. Tenpai, like, you know, I know they're going to make me go first, right? There's a lot of chances where you know that's going to happen, so you can decide accordingly. But So now this looks not like a lot, but it really is. So you have a face-up negate for any face-up card through Rabbit, so that's one layer of interruption. You have the spell trap negate in form of the Exodia, which is 2 interruptions. You have the trap to bring back Rage, and Rage is going to link away a monster, right? So that's 3 interruptions. SP on summon is going to banish something, so that's 4, plus SP's actual effect to banish something when they activate a card or effect, that's 5, plus the Exodia trap for a board wipe, which is 6. So you still have a board of 6 interruptions going first, which is absolutely insane. And it's just really cool because the other thing that this deck doesn't do, that people know the deck doesn't do, they don't play backward. They set a trap. People really going to side in Lightning Storm for just the one trap? I doubt it, right? So maybe, but you get the idea. Is the board it makes is very different from how the deck normally plays, so that's also a really big advantage. So that's the deck. That's the combo. This is really what let me do as well as I've done. There might even be an updated community post later today to this, because there is a second World Celebration event at a different local near me that I'm probably going to take this to after even a couple more tweaks. So with all that said, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Later.